Are you a perfectionist? Think about that. What does it mean to be a perfectionist? Well, it means you like everything to be perfect, right? And maybe you can relate to that. I know I can. How about you, Rebecca? Would you describe yourself as a perfectionist?
That's a really good question. Would I describe myself as a perfectionist? Well, sometimes. Sometimes I try really hard to do things perfectly, or I'm afraid to do something if I feel like it won't be perfect. But then there's other times where I'm just a lot more relaxed and it doesn't really matter so much.
So it just depends on maybe the area of life.
Right. I feel like it depends on the area of life, and it depends on kind of what the situation is and what we're exactly discussing and talking about.
Absolutely. Rebecca, what do you think perfectionism is rooted in?
I believe that perfectionism is rooted in this desire to please people.
Ooh.
And because if you have this desire to please people, you're going to want to do everything perfectly to make them happy or to win their approval.
Absolutely. I would tend to agree with that. And that is problematic, right? And we'll be really tired. It's never enough. And that's one of the big problems with perfectionism. You feel like you never reach what you would consider to be enough or good enough. Well, what's the difference, Rebecca, between being a perfectionist and doing something with excellence?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that when you're a perfectionist, you do things perfectly, or you want to do things perfectly to the point that you're actually afraid of doing things that you feel like won't be done perfectly. So in some ways, I feel like it almost holds you back. Whereas when you do things with excellence, you do things to the best of your ability. So maybe it's not perfect, but you really feel like you've put the effort that you need to put into doing something well.
That's so true. Sometimes I don't want to do something because I know it will take a lot of time because I tend to have some of those perfectionistic tendencies. So you feel like, I don't even want to begin because it's just going to be too much effort required of me and too much time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, how important is it for you to have proper boundaries? On day 3, we talk about the 40-hour work week. How important is it, Rebecca, for you to have the proper boundaries in place between work and your personal life?
Oh, I think it's very important to have boundaries because some jobs will just take up all of your time. If you're willing to give your time, they will take your time. And I do think it's very important that you have time to have fun, you have time for your family, you have time for your friends, and you don't allow work to consume your whole life. So I think that if you are supposed to work 8 hours and you're getting your work done, it's important for you to go home and spend time with your family and do things that you enjoy doing.
You have to be intentional about that, right? Because work can keep creeping in and you have to set those boundaries in order to protect your personal time, right? And
That's
so
right.
a lot to learn about this month in our career article. We hope you check it out in our magazine to find out more.